This is a clip from The Ancient Gift. The entire episode is available on the Ancient Gift YouTube channel and all podcast platforms. Click the link in the description to get access to the entire episode now.
Can't wait. You're going to do a presentation. And as you go through it, I have some questions from the audience that I've received through email. And I'm going to wave you down and stop you if what you say pertains to the questions or if I have a question. So I am ready whenever you are to get started.
Okay. Let me know when you can see this.
Yep, I can see it. So for those of you who don't know about Micah Dank and might be watching this, Micah started researching quite a while ago about astrology connection to the Bible. And since then, he has what you have decoded, like the whole Bible, right? And basically, verse by verse, have decoded it to represent astrology.
Pretty much.
Okay. So that's the premise of the show. And we're going to get into it in just a second. Go for it, Micah.
Okay, so I start by saying, employ your time in improving yourself by other men's writings, so that you shall come easily by what others have labored hard for. I always start my presentation with this because I think it's poetic, it's nice. Socrates too. It just basically says, listen, I've put 30 years into this presentation, so you get the benefit of seeing this presentation when I've studied 30 years for it. I spent 30 years studying the Bible, 20 years esoteric sciences, and about 10 astrotheology. So it's about 60 years worth of studying there.
That's a lot. And you're not 60, so.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's important to know that the Bible is made up of what's known as 7 sciences. The metaphysical, astrological, which you're going to get very familiar with, anatomical, alchemical, spiritual, esoteric, and mythology. The Bible is not literal, historical, reality, or original. And I'm going to show you that. Okay. It's important to know that. This is the zodiac wheel with Capricorn at the bottom and Cancer on top. This is how the wheel should look. Any other variation that you see of it and it's incorrect, or it's not that it's incorrect, it's just not turned the right way. This is how it should actually look.
And this is called the tropical zodiac, correct?
This is a tropical zodiac. So you also have Vedic and sidereal astrology, which is the same thing. That adds the 13th sign of Fucus, which is mentioned a couple times in the Bible. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, this is tropical astrology.
And I do have a quick question before you start. This is for me, actually. In your studying and all of your research and all the years you've done research, do you find, and I don't know how to really word this, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Are either the Old Testament or the New Testament more relevant? In other words, like some scholars stand by the Old Testament, and then, of course, like Christianity and everything, they incorporate the New Testament. But do you think there are any more truths in the Old Testament or more relevant as the story goes?
The truth about it is the Old Testament, actually, a lot of it is borrowed from Egypt and from Sumer. Mm-hmm. And Mesopotamia, Babylonians, they all borrow from each other. So the truth is that it's not like one of them is like a standard good book to use. They're all metaphorical stories. You wouldn't read the Odyssey or the Iliad by Homer and think that those characters are real. You would read it as a story, and that's how the Bible was meant to be read, and that's how it was read before 325 AD, when Constantine united everyone under literal Christianity. But so it goes back to the Lascaux caves. Astrology goes back to the Lascaux caves
in France, correct?
Exactly. Here you see an article that says world's oldest cave paintings show humans understood complex astronomy 40,000 years ago. Okay, and the Lascaux caves, or these caves in Lascaux, France, they're called Lascaux caves because they're from Lascaux, France. Some teenagers went into it and they went to the back of the wall. They went to the back of the cave, and when they hit the back of the wall, they saw this as an example. And you see the bulls on the top, you see the many faces of the lions on the right, and you see the horse at the bottom. Okay. Now in astrology, the bull is Taurus, the lion is Leo, the horse is Sagittarius. It's just missing the guy with the bow and the arrow sitting on top of it.
So there's no coincidence here.
Right. So what they basically did was they carbon dated the wall. And for people who are young Earth creationists who say carbon dating is inaccurate, they're actually half right about that. Carbon dating is actually accurate up to 50,000 years. But when you get past that, then there's uranium datings, there's other types of carbon datings that you can use, but carbon-14 is accurate up to 50,000 years. And it was what was used to date things for a while. So this came out to 40,000 years. So they brought in an astrologer when they recognized the connections. with a computer. And what they did was they rewound the sky back 40,000 years to see what it looked like. And when they printed it out, they superimposed it on this cave. All the animals lined up to where they were. So we've known about astrology for about 40,000 years. Now, there's some questions in the Bible that you can ask. How Jesus was able to heal the blind, how he walked on water, how he turned water into wine, why he had 12 disciples, why he was betrayed with a kiss by Judas, why he was dead for 3 days, why is his birthday on December 25th. All that is explained with astrology. Genesis 1:14 says, let lights appear in the sky to separate the day from the night. Let them be signs to mark the seasons, days, and years. And that's basically what the sun and the moon and the stars do. Okay, so in order to understand this, I have to go through the 12 signs of the zodiac. Okay, I have to go through the 12 signs of the zodiac and explain to them. There's keywords in each sign, which I'm going to explain.
Okay, so I have a quick question from Stacy and Pam in Florida. She wanted to know how your work pertains to Genesis, the creation story. In other words, you know, when he talks about how he created the earth in 6 days, on the seventh day he rests. He created everything in the 6 days, and then how does that translate from your work from astrology standpoint on what it really meant?
Well, there's, as you're going to see when I go through the 12 signs, there's certain keywords that represent each sign. Okay. There's a nice diagram that shows when I go, you have to understand Genesis. You have to understand one thing. You have to understand that Genesis is not the oldest book in the Bible. It's not by any means. Okay. The book of Job is actually the oldest book in the Bible. All the books were placed in a specific order in 100 AD by the Senate of Jamnia, or the Council of Jamnia, where a bunch of politicians and rabbis got together, because at 100 AD, the books weren't canonized yet. What I mean is people were reading them out of order. There was no set order for them. So in 100 AD, they set to order it. Now, 30 years before that, there was an interesting thing that happened, because the Gospel of Mark came out. It's the oldest gospel. And what happened was, which goes back to the Gospel of Q, which was hypothetical until we found it. But basically, the book of Mark came out in 70 AD. So these rabbis were trying to figure out whether or not to include the book of Mark into the Bible. Could you imagine if they had a story of Jesus in the Old Testament? That would have completely changed everything. But as far as Genesis goes, you have to understand these keywords before you're able to really decode Genesis.
And it's important for people to understand too that when the Bible was, like you said, canonized and released in an order, it was done so, like you said, by a council of men who chose which books would make it and which books wouldn't. Like the Book of Enoch didn't make it in the Bible. I think it's because it talks about the Nephilim and the giants and things like that. But
well, hold on a second, because the Book of Enoch was removed from the canon and everything more than 1,000 years after that.
Ah, okay.
It was removed more than 1,000 years after that. But I've decoded the Book of Enoch with astrology. It's all the science that I'm going to teach you. I'm going to show you a list of everything I've decoded at the end. Okay, it all could be decoded the same way as I've decoded Matthew. When I get to the Book of Matthew, I'll show you.
Okay.
Okay, it could all be done the same way. So let's just jump into the signs. So the first sign we talk about is Aquarius, which is represented by the man with the water pitcher. Now, the first sign in the zodiac is actually Aries, but I start with Aquarius because Aquarius is like January. That's right around our new year. It's represented by the man with the water pitcher. Okay, so whenever you see the Son of Man, baptism, because this is how you baptize someone. You have a man with a water, or a priest with a water pitcher, pouring it over on someone's head. Water pitcher, fountain, stream, river, pond, lake, creek, sea, ocean, channel, things of that nature. Water bodies, they're talking about Aquarius. Okay.